You have $247,000 saved at 50. The Federal Reserve says that puts you exactly at the median for your age group, and you are still $1.35 million short of what workers say they actually need to retire. Being average is not the failure. Being average in a generation handed the most expensive retirement math in American history, that is the problem nobody is naming clearly. Today, I want to show you exactly where that gap comes from, why it is larger than it looks, and the specific window Gen X still has to close it. Most of what you have heard about Gen X retirement savings is built on the wrong number. You have probably seen the headlines, the ones saying the median Gen X has $40,000 saved. That figure comes from the National Institute on Retirement Security, and it is real, but it captures the entire population. People who never had access to a 401k, people who cashed out in 2008, people who have been in survival mode for 20 years. That is not the audience watching a channel like this. The number that actually describes you is the Federal Reserve one. The Survey of Consumer Finances, the most rigorous household wealth survey in the country, conducted every 3 years, puts the median net worth for ages 45 to 54 at $247,200. The 75th percentile for your age group sits around $500,000. The 90th percentile crosses $1.4 million. If you have $250,000 to $500,000 saved at 50, you are ahead of most Americans. The financial media does not tell you that because content about people doing reasonably okay does not generate clicks. But being at the median does not mean you are on track. Those are two completely different measurements. Conflating them is the mistake that costs Gen X the most money over the next 15 years. I want you to picture two lines on a graph. The first line is the Gen X median savings trajectory, $247,000 today, growing at 7% real return with no new contributions. The second line is the retirement target. Schwab's 2025 Workplace Plan Participant Survey asked workers how much they need to retire comfortably. The answer was $1.6 million. Now watch those lines. At age 50, line 1 sits at $247,000. Line 2 sits at $1.6 million. The gap between them is $1.35 million. That gap does not close on its own. At 7% growth, $247,000 doubles roughly every 10 years. By age 60, it becomes about $486,000. By age 65, about $680,000. The line never reaches $1.6 million without significant new contributions. The gap does not disappear. It just gets a little less enormous. Then you run out of time. This is what I call the hidden fifth. The top 25% of Gen X savers, the people at $500,000 or more, are in a fundamentally different mathematical position than the median. Not because they worked harder, not because they made smarter choices in their 20s, but because at some point they crossed a threshold where compound interest started doing most of the heavy lifting. Below that threshold, you are still pushing the boulder yourself. Above it, the hill starts to slope the other way. $247,000 is below that threshold. $500,000 is approaching it. That gap between the median and the hidden fifth is the real story of Gen X retirement. Now I want to walk through 3 scenarios at age 50 using the same math, same assumptions, 7% real return, and the same $1.6 million target. Scenario 1. James has $250,000 saved. He is exactly at the Fed median. He contributes $24,500 per year, the 2026 IRS base limit for a 401k, plus a 3% employer match on a $100,000 salary, adding another $3,000. Total annual contribution $27,500. At 7% real return, James reaches approximately $1.1 million by age 65. He is $500,000 short of $1.6 million. He is not failing. He is underfunded by a specific calculable amount. Scenario 2. Claire has $500,000 saved at 50. She is at the 75th percentile. Same contributions, same return. By 65, she reaches approximately $1.7 million. She crosses the $1.6 million target at around age 64, 1 year of margin. That is how thin the line is between the median and the 75th percentile outcome. Scenario 3. Raj has $1 million saved at 50, approaching the 90th percentile threshold. Same contributions, same return. By 65, he reaches approximately $2.8 million, well past the target with room to retire earlier or spend more freely. 3 people. Same income, same savings rate, same return. The gap between James's $1.1 million and Raj's $2.8 million is not discipline. It is the decade of compounding that happened between ages 35 and 50. James cannot buy that decade back. But here is what he can do. This is Sarah from Sarah's Money Map. And the mechanism James can use is what I call the Gen X catch-up window. It is roughly 10 to 15 years depending on your target retirement age. And the IRS has built 2 specific tools into the tax code for exactly this situation. The first is the standard catch-up contribution. From age 50 onward, you can contribute $8,000 per year above the base $24,500 limit. Total, $32,500 per year in your 401k. The second is the Super Catch-Up, introduced by Secure 2.0 and active starting in 2025. For ages 60 to 63 specifically, not 64, not 65, exactly 60 to 63, the additional limit jumps to $11,250 above the base. Total for those 4 years, $35,750 per year. If you want to see more breakdowns like this one, subscribe. It is free, and the math compounds better than anything else in your feed. Let me show you what that acceleration does to James's number. If James uses the standard catch-up from age 50, contributing $32,500 per year instead of $27,500, his age 65 total moves from $1.1 million to approximately $1.25 million. Then from ages 60 to 63, he adds the Super Catch-Up, $35,750 per year for those 4 years. His final number moves to approximately $1.35 million. He is still short of $1.6 million, but the gap has narrowed from $500,000 to $250,000. That is a meaningful shift from 4 years of maximum contributions. And that is before Social Security. The SS 2026 figures make this clear. If you claim at 62, the maximum monthly benefit is $2,969. At your full retirement age of 67, it is $4,043. At 70, it is $5,181 per month. The difference between claiming at 62 versus waiting until 70 is $2,212 per month. Over a 20-year retirement, that is $530,000 in additional lifetime benefits in today's dollars. For many Gen X savers, delaying Social Security from 62 to 70 is worth more than a decade of additional 401k contributions. Most people do not run that calculation. Now the objection I hear most often. What about healthcare? Fidelity's 2025 retiree healthcare cost estimate puts the number at $172,500 in after-tax savings for a single 65-year-old. For a married couple, approximately $345,000. If James's $1.35 million needs to absorb $172,500 in healthcare costs, his effective portfolio drops to about $1.18 million. That is the honest number. Not $1.35 million versus $1.6 million. It is $1.18 million versus $1.6 million. The gap is larger than the headline suggests, and the protocol has to account for it. Here's the strongest case for the other side, because it deserves to be said. The Federal Reserve SCF 2022 shows that households with a bachelor's degree or higher have a median net worth of $416,100, nearly double the overall median. If you have a college degree and a professional income, your peer group median is not $247,000. It is $416,000. And if you are in a dual income household, your combined savings are likely higher still. At $416,000, Scenario 2 is closer to your starting point than Scenario 1. The math is still demanding, but the gap between where you are and where you need to be is meaningfully smaller. That is the legitimate reason not to panic. The catch is that 416,000 still trails 1.6 million by 1.18 million, and the same compounding window applies. So here's the protocol. Step 1 is run your real number, not the 1.6 million Schwab average. Your number based on your actual projected spending in retirement. Take your current monthly spending, remove costs that disappear, mortgage if paid off by then, childcare, commuting, and add costs that will grow, primarily healthcare at 5 to 7% per year. Multiply your annual retirement spend by 25. That is your target. For most Gen X savers watching this, it lands somewhere between 1.2 million and 2 million. Step 2 is to maximize the catch-up window this calendar year. If you are between 50 and 59, set your 401k contribution rate to hit $32,500 for 2026. If you're between 60 and 63, set it to $35,750. Every year you leave the catch-up unused is a year of tax advantage compounding you cannot recover. Step 3 is to model your Social Security decision as a separate asset. Go to SSA.gov, pull your earnings statement, and calculate the dollar difference between claiming at 62, 67, and 70. If you can fund the gap from your portfolio, delaying Social Security is often the highest guaranteed return available to you. Government-backed, inflation-adjusted for life. The gap between 247,000 and 1.6 million is real. It is not a character flaw. It is arithmetic. Gen X was handed 401k plans instead of pensions, entered the workforce during early 90s stagnation, absorbed the dot-com crash and then 2008 at exactly the wrong ages for compounding, and is now managing retirement while many are still carrying mortgage debt. The system was not built with your generation's timeline in mind. The Gen X catch-up window is open right now. It will not stay open much longer. Tell me in the comments, which scenario is closest to where you are right now? James at 250, Claire at 500, or Raj at 1 million? No judgment, just data. I read every comment, and the answers help me figure out what to cover next. I will see you in the next one. Not investment advice. This video is for education and entertainment only. Markets carry risk, so always do your own research. AI may assist with voice or visuals, but the content is still reviewed and edited by me, Sarah.